Well, everyone, it seems that Star Citizen has officially overstepped. The developers have ticked off the most hardcore Star Citizen fans, and the whole community is revolting after spending $800 million on the game. I know that sounds like a fake headline that they've raised that much and that those same people are upset about it, but no, truly, they've actually gone that far and people have had enough. And I'm gonna show all of it to you because it's crazy. It's insane. I do want to say at the outset that I've played Star Citizen, okay? People think it's not a real game. It is. You can actually download it and play it. We've played it on stream over on Luke Stevens Live, my second channel. We flew a bunch of ships around different planets. We did some missions. We did some quests. We went and at one point held a funeral for one of the players that met an unfortunate end, and we flew up into the atmosphere and dumped his body out the back of it while like all sorts of fireworks were blaring. It was awesome. It was crazy cool. And so there is a game here to be played, and some people take it very, very seriously. There's different play styles, whether it's mining or racing or broader role play, where some people get into orgs or organizations with other players. And these can be groups of dozens or hundreds or thousands of people that are working together to do quests and do things within the universe. It's super, super cool. Some of the tech they're also using here is insane. Like, for example, they did a Star Engine demo, I believe last year, where they showcased a bunch of the cool stuff they were able to do. And it basically was one gigantic middle finger to Starfield. Like everything that that game wanted to do, this engine is capable of, whether it's seamless transitions from planet surfaces into caves, into buildings with NPCs, back out into the atmosphere, across the solar system to a different planet, or to a space station floating around a nebula. Like, it's insane what they're able to do here with seamless data streaming. It's really remarkable. But as most people are all too aware, remarkable things often require remarkable budgets. And that certainly is true with Star Citizen. They've raised over $800 million at this point from 5.6 million different people. And every time I check on this number, it's gone up by an insane amount. It's just wild how much money they make with this. And as you can see, if you go to like monthly earnings, you can see that like in November of last year, they brought in $20 million in a month. Granted, the game like doesn't technically, like, it's not in 1.0. It's not fully released or anything. This one, like in December, they made just around $18 million. It's crazy. Granted, they only made 7.5 during January, February, but they're starting to recover. And as they hold more events, they make more money. But it's wild the amount of money they take in. It's really crazy. And in case you're wondering how they actually make that money, it's with bundles and packs like this. So for example, if you want to get into the game, you have to buy a starter pack that maybe has like a $45 ship. If we go here to game packages, you can see that one down here, the Aurora MR starter pack. And this is where most people start. They pay 45 bucks, they get access to the game, and then they can work their way either to earn some of these ships in game, or they can pay real world money in order to get the ships that are persistent. That's right, because if you grind for like 6 months to get enough in-game money to buy a super awesome ship that is like $1,000 in the real world, they do regular data wipes, which will delete that. So you have to re-grind for it. But if you paid real money, you get to keep it wipe to wipe. Makes sense. I mean, obviously it would be insane if they took away the thing you bought, but just to be clear, that's how they kind of keep people engaged, is just as they grind for the ship, they might wipe it, so you have to start over. So that's why people get pushed into just buying it, so that they don't have to worry about that. Because again, this is perhaps one of the more crucial things to understand. If you're watching this channel, if you're watching a Luke Stevens video, chances are you're just a gamer. Like, you like playing a bunch of different little things, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that's great. I work the same way. However, a lot of the people that are playing Star Citizen, this is their hobby. Like, all they play is Star Citizen. They're not really gamers in the same sense of the word that like you and I probably count as it. They are Star Citizen fans. And because it's like a video game, they technically get like lumped into that. But they take it very, very seriously, and they are in deep in Star Citizen. They have in some cases spent hundreds or thousands, or in some cases tens of thousands of dollars on these different packs. Like, I don't know if this is real or an inside joke or something that I'm not aware of, but this like Praetorian pack, this Twitch streamer that streams Star Citizen says that he bought it and has it now, and it's worth $15,000. $15,000. That's insane. You know, it's crazy. I guess, you know, this is like the ultimate tax write-off. I would love to sit in on the conversation with the IRS when you're trying to explain how this is a tax write-off for your business. But still, I mean, I guess if you need to spend money, this is a good way to do it because there's always a new pit to throw it into. But Jesus, it comes with 66 ships and 105 different items. Wild, absolutely wild. But that's why they've raised over $800 million, okay? That's why. But this is also why it's all the more remarkable that despite all of this, they have managed, the developers, to tick off these very same people to the point where a lot of them are talking about potentially walking away and giving up on the game until they make major changes. It's pretty remarkable. And I know you're wondering, Luke, what could they possibly have done to tick off their own community that badly? Just you wait. As I pull it up in another tab and I stall for time, I'm just going to tell you that I have a newsletter I put together every week with my team. We send it out. It's completely free. All you have to do is put your email address in, you get it, and it's shipped to your inbox every Friday. It's super easy, super chill. It just has gaming news stories, some write-ups I do regularly. We were already collecting that data and information for the streams and stuff. We were doing coverage of news stories anyways. So we figured, put it together in a newsletter, send it out to people, share it with the community. So if you're interested, links below, sign up. Again, it's free. It's an awesome time. So check that out if you're interested. But okay, what did they do, Luke? What was so crazy bad? Well, there's a ship that's been in production for a very long time called the Idris. And this was supposed to be one of the big reveals for this year, was that this ship was finally going to go into the game. This was finally going to be something that you could play with, bring it into the game with your friends. And so they did a behind the ships presentation discussing this. And to be fair, the ship looks really, really cool. For most people, this is going to cost about $1,900 to buy, $1,500 for others. I've seen both prices listed. I'm not totally sure where it lands, but somewhere between $1,500 and $1,900, depending, I think, on like your relationship with the company and whether you're like a partner, blah, 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 something like that. It has like a hangar. You can bring tanks into it. And this is a ship that's so massive, just to man all of the guns and turrets and stuff, you need 12 crew. And if you want to also be able to like operate the ship and fly it, you need even more. So this is a ship targeting an organization, so a crew of players that's like 15, 20, 30 people strong. And they're all online at the same time, all loaded into the ship, all working together to operate it and to complete missions and stuff together. Cool in concept, I get it. But that's also why I think they can justify charging so much for it, because they're like, yeah, it's $1,500, but across 30 people, that's not actually that bad, which I can sort of understand if you're like, hey, it's only $50 a pop. That's not that crazy. Sure, I guess, but it still is $1,500. Like, it's still so much, man. It's crazy. But anyway, they showed off a lot of this. People got excited and be like, oh, that's interesting. But there's a couple of other little tidbits you need to understand about this. As part of this announcement, they revealed, of course, that it was going to be launching with all sorts of different various like attachments and things that can make it more useful. These turrets, for example, that you see, typically they need to be manned. However, there are certain things that you can use to basically have them be AI controlled so that they auto aim, so you can fly the ship even without a full crew. Sounds good, right? Those are called like AI blades, is my understanding. And they're basically like mods that you clip into a weapon or a system or a ship to make them operate the way that you want them to, or a different way. Maybe it increases the rate of fire, or it just allows them to freely like lock on aim without you needing to have somebody manning in the turret. Cool idea. And they also have things called blades that also are just broader vehicle mods that you can use on a big ship like this, or even smaller ships that they have designed them for. And these can do things like increase top speed but make it less maneuverable, or increase maneuverability but decrease the top speed. Again, they're basically just mods that you clip into like your ship's computer, if you think of it that way. And this all initially sounds fine, like, oh, new attachments and stuff for your ship. And that's why as people started reading the announcement from Freya at CIG on this forum post, people weren't that worried about it. But as they got deeper into the post, they started to see some worrisome trends. And then like the big humdinger was revealed, which is basically just that these are going to be available for sale exclusively. for a limited time. As you can see here, they have all these different flight blade kits available from $18 to $15 to $30. So the bigger the ship is and the more useful it'll be, the more expensive it is. And to be clear, these are things that directly affect the power and capability of your ships in the game. So even if somebody bought a $100 ship, and somebody else grinded for it in game to get the same ship, but with the in-game currency. If the person who spent more money just bought for an extra $22 or whatever, the Scorpius series flight blade kit and attached it, their ship is now just automatically better. And as of right now, it seems that there is no way to acquire these in-game. They are exclusively available as a pledge for $22 or $18 or $8 or $10 or $15, whatever, until some point in the future. Some people are saying they heard somebody say 3 months. Others are saying 6 months. Other people are saying there has been no confirmation. So we just don't know right now. But either way, they are locking behind a paywall. Many paywalls, I guess, very small paywalls, contrasted to the broader paywall that's all over the place with the $1,500 ships and stuff. But they are paywalling little bitty upgrades like this. And people are just finally like having enough, because paired with this was also an announcement that they're paywalling other stuff. They're paywalling bomb racks, which allow you to basically have bombs and carry those on ships that previously wouldn't have been able to do that. They are also paywalling things like new racing gear, cosmetics, armor sets, weapons, all sorts of different things like this. That, again, if you are willing to spend more money, if you're willing to spend the extra 14 or 5 or $12 here and there, you will just have a better time with the game. And the reason why I and many other people have expressed frustration when companies like Ubisoft have gameplay affecting things for sale, even in single player games, much less like online games that you're playing with other players, is because this gives an incentive to the developer to push you into buying these things for real money. That's why they do it this way. Like, duh, okay? If they want you to spend money on these armor sets, they're going to make sure the only weapon and armor sets that you can get in the core game itself are lame in comparison, because they want you to feel incentivized to spend money for it. Same with all these, same with the weapon mods, same with the actual ship mods and blades and things. They are finding a reason to force your hand into spending extra money. And they're doing it now with every little bitty thing within Star Citizen. I mean, seriously, it's kind of hard to find like packs. We can look in packs, what these are. These are collections of like cosmetics, ships. The website's broken. Hold on. Okay, that didn't work. Standalone ships. But like, if you want to be competitive in mining, or if you want to go and do races, if you want to just go and like get into dogfights and maybe play more as a pirate, if you want to do any of that stuff, you have to pony up the cash to be competitive. And if you don't, you're just not going to have a good time. And this is why I think for a lot of people, this was the last straw, because they've taken it out of just the ships being the pay to win mechanic. And now it's everything in the game. It's everything. As you can see here, the community is just fed up. Vracks are here, selling performance altering modules and keeping them locked behind a paywall. This paywall, even for a short period, is still the definition of pay to win and not okay. And then another YouTuber, Salt E Mike, said, "This is the most embarrassing thing I've seen this company do yet. What part of this game is not sold on the pledge store? Will there be AI mining and salvage blades next so I can auto play the game while taking screenshots?" Because to be clear, those AI mining blades or salvage blades, if they add those to the game, those just auto control your mining beam if they were to do it that way. So you don't need to even be playing the game while it grinds for you. And I'm sure they'll sell those to you for 15 bucks or 20 bucks. So if you're willing to spend money, you just get to bypass the game itself. You pay more to not play. It's crazy. Isn't that novel? And as you can see, edit, this doesn't even feel like pay to win that much. It's simply prioritizing items on the pledge store that can never be lost. There is your win, probably, and removing any aspect of having to play the game at all. Winning to me is playing and earning stuff that makes my experience different, like a flight blade, or easier, like a component or weapon improvement. This is what is unacceptable to me, which I get. They are literally taking the game itself and then just selling it to you in bits and pieces. So unless you're willing to spend thousands, you don't get the game. And if you go in there and you're like one of the brokies that spends $45 like me to get the basic starter ship and try to play the game that way, you're just not going to have as good of a time. You just won't. I know that there's some people that have spent thousands of hours in the game and understand it. And they're like, no, I start with nothing every time they do a server wipe, and I start from the bottom and I grind up and I get the big ship by the end of the run of that instance on the server before they wipe it again. You can have a really good time with it. I get that that's what somebody who's very experienced in the game feels. But as somebody who is new to the game, it's an immediate turnoff to see that if I'm willing to spend more money, I can just bypass the game itself. And it's a turnoff, especially when you're talking about a game that has a lot of player-to-player interactions as well. But I hear you barking, big dog. Luke, dearest Luke, why are they doing this? Why are they all of a sudden getting so greedy? And I know there's kind of two ways to tackle that. One is to say, this is nothing new. They've always been this way, which is probably partially true as well, because they haven't raised $800 million by accident. Okay. They know what they're doing. But the other way is to look at a couple of little bitty tidbits that I think indicates something pretty significant is going on behind the scenes. Little context here. Earlier this year and late last year, it was announced that CIG and Robert Space Industries, the guys making this game, Star Citizen, they had major shakeups within management. They fired some people, moved some other people around. And they put out that like sizzle reel for Squadron 42. And it seems like they are really trying to get Squadron 42, which is the single player campaign for this, out the door. They really want that to release. And it's like, why are you so insistent all of a sudden after 12 years that this needs to happen right now? It's okay. All of a sudden we've got hustle, but that's all going to tie into this in just a minute. But to also rewind the clocks, you remember the Idris ship. This is the ship that kind of kickstarted a lot of this discussion over the blade systems that would be so useful on a ship this massive because of all the turrets and all the stuff. Using like AI blades would be super useful. Having blades that increase maneuverability would be super useful, but they're all locked behind paywalls. All that's super crucial, okay? But there's a point in this video where they're talking about it where something kind of interesting happens, because this ship was not supposed to be released right now. It was supposed to be released next to that Squadron 42 game. And there's a little interesting tidbit I want to play for you from a video that was put together by that one and only Salt E Mike, whose video and rundown on this has helped me make this video. Let me just play it for you, okay?
What's the deal here? I thought we weren't going to release this until Squadron came out.
Good question.
Squadron has developed, and the Idris has been in the PU in various guises for quite some time now. It's been quite clear internally that the two versions are very different things now. And it's...
In my opinion, it's because they ran out of... They've been running out of money. It's because they've been running out of money, and they're going to do whatever possible to keep this thing afloat.
And I think Mike's right. I think Salty Mike is right. I'll have his full video linked in the description box below because it's very good. Gives you a much deeper look at all this because he's way more familiar with the game than I. But I think that this is true. The reason why they are dropping the Idris ship kind of seemingly out of nowhere very suddenly, and why they're all of a sudden getting super greedy by monetizing everything in the game itself, is simply because they are running out of money. Even though they've raised $800 million, they are running out of money. And we know this is also starting to happen because they revealed some financials. Granted, these are the financials for 2023, even though they were released on May 2nd of this year. They're staggered by a year. But even with those financials, we can start to see some worrisome trends. And you can go to their website and see this yourself and break it down yourself. We looked at it over on Luke Stevens Live as well, where we did a bit of a deep dive in it. But broad strokes, the primary thing to take away from this is that they are still raising money, true, but they are spending a lot of money and they are burning through a lot of money. Lots of red. Okay. Making a game like this is quite expensive, and they have been doing it for over a decade without a full release. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. You can see they also hold a CitizenCon event every year with 3,000 people in Los Angeles where they showcase the game itself and all of that. This goes to explain the 26% increase in our expenditure, including CapEx over 2022 with all the cost categories up. Like, they burn through a lot of cash. Okay, they really do. They've increased like marketing spend. They've increased spend on the IT side, on the dev side, all over the place. As you can see here, salaries, publishing and marketing, contracted dev costs, CapEx, G&A, other dev costs, and it's just going up and up and up. And I'm betting you 2024 total expenses are also going to be all the way up even higher than this. And yet the money they're bringing in is not going up that exponentially fast, okay? They are still getting money from the big cash cows, from the big whales, certainly, but not enough to cover these bills, okay? They're hemorrhaging cash right now, and they're trying to find ways to make up for it, which is also why they're trying to get Squadron 42 out the door, because they're hoping they put that out, that maybe makes $300, $400, $500 million. Boom, we got some more cash to finish the persistent universe, and then we can introduce like a subscription model or something like that. We'll see if that works. But they're running out of money. They just are, okay? And at some point, they have to either release a product that makes the money, or they just run out of money and the whole thing shuts down. Like, there's not many ways for this to go. They could potentially try to partner with an outside source, like a Tencent type of person that comes in and just throws money at them to finish the game. But if they do that, they give up all creative control, or at least most of it, a lot of it. And they don't want to do that because this is also headed up by Chris Roberts. This is headed up by the Roberts in Roberts Space Industries, the company name itself, and he doesn't want to give up control. This is his baby after, 12, 13 years. He doesn't want to give it up. So they are going to try to find some other way to deal with it. But instead of just getting the games out the door and maybe trying to be a little tighter in scope, they are choosing to try and milk their fans for everything they're worth in every single way, even if it fundamentally breaks down the integrity of the game itself, to the point where now Star Citizen, it's not even really a video game. It's just a gigantic flea market of a bunch of different little things. And if you happen to go in there with a big crisp $100 bill and you're willing to just go crazy, you can put together something that you can have fun with. But unless you're willing to do that, you just won't. And it's going to be a turnoff to new players, and it's actively turning off hardcore players who are already invested pretty heavily and are dealing with the sunk cost fallacy where they don't want to walk away because they've already spent so much money on it. But it's pretty clear, if this continues, if this is the new mindset, there will not be a video game to play at the end of all of this. The version of Star Citizen that will launch will be some sort of bizarro husk of a game and a space sim, and everything else will be paywalled. Everything. And it seems that there is no intention to walk this back. There's no intention to calm down and reevaluate their monetization practices. They've been doing this for a decade and it's worked. They've raised $800 million, but through mismanagement and their inability to put the game together and get it done, we're now a decade later and they are closer to launch for sure, but they're also starting to run out of money, because their expenses are growing exponentially faster than their income is growing. And that doesn't work. So they're getting desperate. And that's why you're seeing them release the ship early. You're seeing them put out all these blades and all these different things that, like the weapons and extra cosmetics, everything in the game is for sale now. And they're stomping all over their fans and all the goodwill that they had somehow with the community. And they're doing it because they are freaking desperate for cash. And I don't see this ending well, frankly. I really, really don't. I cannot imagine a world in which you get to stomp all over your own fans and customers and it launches well. I don't see that happening. But maybe they can blow us away. Maybe they walk this back. An hour after this video goes up, they walk it all back and I get to make a fun pinned comment saying, ignore all of this. But as of right now, this is a mess. This is a disaster. I mean, I'm seeing people that I've spoken with who are really into Star Citizen saying that they're just going to walk away, that they're not interested. And that's crazy. But let me know what you think of all of this in the comment section below. I'm interested to hear your thoughts as gamers, not as people already in deep in the Star Citizen universe. So let me know what you think. Of course, make sure to like the video, subscribe if you enjoyed it and want to see more. But until next time, my friends, much love, hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.